Right now might be the last chance in history we see quality altcoins making 10, 50, even 100x gains, allowing us to make life-changing money. Okay, after this bull market, this market will no longer be small, regulations will tighten, and institutions will soak up a lot of this opportunity. Okay, and even though Bitcoin is near all-time highs, there will be opportunities to get in on the ground floor of projects, compound your gains, and be able to make those life-changing amounts of money, but that's only if you know where to look and if you have a plan. Okay, luckily I have previous experience in bull runs, calling Dogecoin at 4 cents, Cardano at 18 cents, and now from this cycle, showing you guys coins that have already over 10x'd. So in this video, I'm going to cover my analysis leading into the bull market and why I think this bull market will be the biggest we have ever seen, the altcoins that I'm investing in, why I think it will make life-changing money for people, a breakdown of my bull market strategy to make millions of dollars in the next cycle, and at the end, I'm going to show you smart money indicators that most people don't know about to be able to time the top and hopefully be able to lock in profit while other people bag hold. So if that sounds good, make sure you hit the like button on the video to get this out to as many people as we can. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell notifications so that you guys know when I'm dropping videos. Follow us on TikTok and Instagram. I'm going to be using that to do the time-sensitive updates for you guys to get information out quickly. Okay, so let's take a look at the Bitcoin chart because what we're seeing right now has never happened in the history of crypto. Historically, we have never broken an all-time high in Bitcoin before we've had a halving cycle, which is essentially cutting the supply of Bitcoin in half. Right now, we're mining about 900 Bitcoin a day. This is going to drop to about 450 mined Bitcoin per day. And now at the time I'm shooting this video, we're hovering right around all-time highs. And since the Bitcoin ETF approval, we've seen record-breaking ETF inflow with approximately 12,000 Bitcoin or $541 million worth of assets flowing into the ETFs compared to the about 900 Bitcoin worth around $45 million added through mining. Okay, you can see we have all of these large institutions adding a tremendous amount of Bitcoin to their sheets, and this is significantly outpacing the available mined supply of Bitcoin before the halving. So even if the ETF inflow slows down, which it probably will, even if it slows down by 50%, we'll probably still be able to maintain the same level of buy pressure. And this time it's significantly different because you can see these ETFs aren't tracking the price of Bitcoin. These ETFs are requiring institutions to actually purchase these Bitcoin on chain, which has never been the case before. And because of this is why we're seeing this really big parabola in Bitcoin. Okay, additionally, maybe even bigger news, we have a new Ethereum upgrade scheduled for March 13th. So that should be coming up in a few days from now. Okay, and with this Denkin update, we're expected to significantly reduce the layer 2 transaction fees, which is going to help Ethereum scalability, efficiency, security. This is also going to increase the potential use case for real world application, considering that the transactions won't be as expensive and it'll be a lot faster. In conjunction with this, we also have the potential Ethereum ETF approval expected to happen in May of 2024. And if we look at the price chart of Ethereum, we're still about 25% away from cresting that all-time high before we see this. All right, and at this point, we have Bitcoin sitting at a $1.3 trillion market cap and Ethereum sitting about a $460 billion market cap. Okay, just to put this into proportion and to show what I think to be a realistic growth potential without being a moon boy thinking that we're gonna explode and having these unrealistic numbers, if we look at the US stock market, the largest, most relevant companies, we have obviously Nvidia sitting at 2.2 trillion, but we have the top 5 sitting at about $2 trillion worth of market capitalization. Okay, so the way I see it, I see Bitcoin being an early gold. Right now, gold is about a $13 trillion market and Bitcoin sitting at about a $1.3 trillion market. I see Bitcoin realistically sitting around a $4 to $5 trillion market cap, which is still roughly only 25% of the market capitalization that actual gold has. And I see a realistic expectation for Ethereum to be a similar size to a large regular US tech company, which I think realistically we could expect a market cap of ETH to fall somewhere into the 1.5 to 2.5 vicinity. So now knowing this, I'm going to show you with some other technical analysis, some realistic ranges we could see Bitcoin and Ethereum going to, which is then going to open the floodgates to other opportunities that we're about to dive into in just a second. Anytime we see big runs up in the market, this is a tool that I use when I'm day trading, when I'm investing. I'm going to show you guys how to do this. See how the volume starts to pour in at this point. This is really where we're seeing the beginning of our trend before we see a high. So if I go ahead and select this tool here, my trend-based fib extension, we click at the bottom of there and we go up to the first push up in correction that we see. We click our second point there, and then we drag this point back down to line up to the exact point of the beginning of this trend. What this is doing is this is using the Fibonacci ratio to be able to give us projection values to anticipate areas in the chart where the price could reverse back. So the thing with Fibonacci is this is also fractal. Most things in the market, most things in life are fractal, meaning that you can find small versions of one thing happening on a larger scale. So if we take this exact theory where we have that first sort of push up in price to predict the top level here, we can scroll out to a weekly chart. So each candle is showing us a week worth of the price movement. Take our same tool here, start at this low point, go up to our high, then back down. What that's going to do is that's going to give us a 261.8 projection right around $12,000. So if we know the circulating supply of ETH is around 120 million, okay, we can go to market cap of, this is a tool that I love to use. We can put in Ethereum, we can make our manual coin here, put in the 12,300, put the circulating supply at 120 million, call this ETH2, hit apply, and that would put us at about a 3x multiple here in ETH and put us right at that $1.5 trillion market capitalization, which would put us right in the realistic vicinity of large US tech companies. Maybe we move up to 2 trillion, which would bring the price probably closer to $16,000 per Ethereum. Okay, and the same thing is true with Bitcoin. If we start from this low here up to our high with our Fibonacci extension, we can see our 160.8 would bring us to that $100,000 mark. And then the 260.8 projection would bring us to around $175,000 per Bitcoin. So if we go over, look at Bitcoin, put in 175,000, put in the circulating supply right around 20 million, call it BTC2. That would conservatively put us in the $3.5 trillion market cap vicinity, which would still be roughly 20 to 25% the market capitalization that we see in gold. Once again, in early gold, these numbers make sense. Okay, I see Moon Boys out there where they're saying that they're not going to sell Ethereum until we hit $80,000 this cycle. Okay, just to show you what that would look like, if we have $80,000 with 120 million in circulating supply, as much as I would love a 20x, we would have to see at least a $9.6 trillion market cap, which would be larger than Microsoft, Apple, Nvidia, and Amazon put together. So we have to be realistic about the actual amount of money that we could see pouring into these sectors so that we can actually look to position ourselves and time ourselves in this market with realistic expectations so that we're not just making these gains and then bag holding them all the way down. Okay, so we're going to get into that a little bit later in the video. The exciting part about this is the fact that if we look at the total market capitalization of crypto, we can see we're still sitting 20% away from all-time highs of the total market cap of the crypto market. If we exclude Bitcoin out of this market cap, we still have 50% to all-time highs. And if we exclude Ethereum and Bitcoin, we still have a 65% gain away from reaching the previous all-time highs of the altcoin market and just getting back to all-time highs, which I'm sure we're going to smash through with the rest of the market. That alone is going to be adding about $500 billion to the altcoin market. There's going to be trillions and trillions of dollars entering aside from Bitcoin and ETH, but more fresh capital because of this is going to pour into the market. This is where the opportunity lies. This is also important because this poses another really important point that I want you guys to understand. Say we see $3 trillion worth of capital pour into the market. That from where we are now would give us a 4x. But if we're able to get in early, which is why I was talking about this back in November, trying to get this information out, sharing it on Discord, sharing it everywhere. If we're able to even get a slightly better average, this little difference in price here is going to substantially change the amount of profit that you're going to make at the end of the bull market. Okay, so timing entries on these projects and not FOMO buying in late is going to drastically change the amount of gains that you're able to make in the market. All right, and that's why the opportunities that I'm going to be talking about in just a second are so important to me, because they're going to be ground floor, whereas we already have a lot of our tokens up hundreds and hundreds of percents. So if you feel like you're late to the game, there is still hope, and I'm going to explain exactly why. As exciting as this all is, what we have to understand and think pragmatically about is the fact that we have still seen multiple candles printing 30% gains, right? 20%, 25% here. This can change very quickly. And if we look, we have our one projection giving us these Fibonacci projections into our trend here, which would put a 361.8 at about $74,000, which would allow us to poke through this all-time high and then hit a potential parabolic resistance zone. Okay, what I like to look at when I'm like taking shorts on day trades or just in general is something that I preach on our trading team. It's something called parabolic exhaustion. I'm not sure if this is a real term. It's a term that I've created, but I like to use it. And basically basically what this means is you can look at the price action of a trend as sort of a half pipe. So if we have these gradual increases, and then eventually this turns into a straight line. Once you have a straight line up, you could see more gradual, then straight line up. Eventually, this is going to hit some sort of resistance, and the more it goes up in a straight line, the more volatile this is going to be at the top that we could potentially expect a flip on. Obviously, in previous cycles, when we're dealing with a lot less money, it's easy for these parabolas to happen, but as we see more and more involvement and we see more institutions buying, which then has implications of long-term and short-term capital gains, they're going to be more careful about when they're actually buying and selling positions. Okay, in my opinion, we're not going to see the market just move up in a straight line like this, because that is just not a sustainable, realistic model based on the amount of money that would have to enter the market without any sort of pullback. What I see realistically happening is the halving cycle once again being a little bit of a buy the rumor, sell the news situation. I think we could definitely get a little bit more of a blow off top on Bitcoin. Once halving happens and once everyone thinks that the all-time high is clear, just like previous cycles, we'll probably see the price sell off, move sideways. Then further into the halving cycle, once people have sort of forgotten again and got used to those prices, the hype dies down. That's where we'll probably realistically get a pretty aggressive move to the upside, where we could potentially see these levels in the price of Bitcoin. Okay, but if you're feeling like you missed out at this price, there is a high chance that we are going to get a bit of a blow off top here and then a pull back down in price. That being said, the reason I was calling Sol out for us right around here at 33 and things like IMX around 70 cents is because now we have exposure to the market and we don't have to perfectly time the pullbacks. We have cash on the side, so if we do get the pullback, we can allocate those into dollar cost average positions lower. And if the market continues to move, we have such a good average that it doesn't really matter where or when we get the pullback, because then we can just act accordingly when it happens. And if and when we see this on Bitcoin, we are going to see the cryptos that move more aggressively with the bullish momentum in the market pulling to the downside, which is then going to hopefully open up an opportunity for people to be able to dip buy into these projects to be able to ride the next leg up. But even if that's not the case and I wasn't involved yet, there are still coins that are basically undiscovered in brand new opportunities in crypto for us to be able to take advantage of, that we can use the momentum in the market whenever it does come to be able to make these crazy gains. So if you're in now, it's better, but if you're not, either way, as long as you act correctly, it's not too late. So what we want to do is time these projects that we want to get into and follow quality projects that are following the actual narrative of the market, that have solid backing from all of the crypto OGs, finding those plays and being early to those so that we can find those ground floor plays. Now, that's what we're going to get into right now. But in order to be able to pick the winners, we have to understand the narrative in crypto and what that will most likely look like. Last time the narrative was DeFi or decentralized finance, and now the new narrative is AI. Okay, this is why we're now seeing Nvidia as the third largest stock with a $2.2 trillion market cap. GPU is essentially the blood oil to AI development, and we're seeing unprecedented growth in the AI sector right now. Okay, just to put it into perspective, China spent more on importing GPU last year than they did importing oil. Okay, so what will probably happen is this is going to turn into a bubble eventually, like what we saw in the dot-com bubble, where we have this groundbreaking technology that inevitably will change the way the world works, but essentially overhyping and overvaluing all of these AI companies, only for the way we approach this entire AI revolution to completely change, which will then likely cause this bubble to burst. And then the select few projects that are winners carry through, the market changes, and then we have a regrowth. We're still in that first phase right now where we're starting to enter that AI bubble. Okay, I don't feel this way about Bitcoin because the way we treat scarcity in currency hasn't really changed all that much over the past 1,000 years. Whereas all the new developing technology where these companies are solely relying on the demand for it and also the hype around it will be significantly impacted by the way this bubble ends up shaking out. And a lot of these projects at the end of this will once again tank by 80% and then may never even come back. Okay, so this is what I wish I knew from last cycle. Okay, this is what I want you guys to take into this cycle, is not having the rose-colored glasses on and understanding that this is an opportunity, but also we have to know where to actually start taking profits so that we can be the smart ones. And that's what I'm going to be sharing with you guys at the very end of this video. But let's talk about the present opportunity in this space right now. The problem with these AI companies, it's all Microsoft, Apple, OpenAI, Nvidia, all that are either private companies or way too large to be able to make a significant amount of money off of the growth of this sector. Okay, additionally, because these AI companies are completely centralized, there's going to continue to be a lot of legal issues and sort of specific directing of information that could lead to a big problem with this machine learning and this AI development. But this is where cryptocurrency can come in and start solving this problem. One crypto project that I still see being a sleeping giant in the AI play, probably the best way to get exposure in the AI emerging markets, is Bittensor or Tau. I talked about Tau back in November. Okay, after this YouTube video, you can go cross-reference the other YouTube video where I was talking about my entry on this project. Okay, but we were talking about it when it was still at 70 from this low here. And right now we're sitting at a $740 valuation. Now, as weird as it is to sound, I'm gonna explain to you why I still think this is ridiculously undervalued. Okay, so just to get into a little bit more detail about what Bittensor does, it's a mining-oriented network for machine learning. Okay, so it solves the problem of the centralized AI issue, but still uses a similar mechanism compared to Bitcoin. Okay, I retweeted this post here. This is one of the plays that gives you exposure to every sector in AI. Bittensor is a mining network similar to Bitcoin that offers censorship resistance access to decentralized networks of machine learning models by leveraging the digital incentives and the rewarding participants directly for their contributions of their computational resources. Okay, so the way ChatGPT works, this is working in a similar way, but doing it with a Bitcoin similar mechanism. Okay, so when there are AI tasks fed into the system, these are addressed by multiple machines or the multiple miners who then go ahead and share their computational resources to the network, and then they're rewarded with the Tau tokens. This is similar to the way Bitcoin miners are rewarded in Bitcoin. And just like ChatGPT, there are multiple subnets that are being designed on Bittensor right now. That is an ever-growing network of real-world application things that are being solved through a decentralized network that is now not only benefiting the large tech companies and is basically not lucrative to the average investor, but now you're able to get involved from the ground floor of a completely decentralized network doing the same thing. And the crazy part about this, look at the exchanges that Tau is listed on right now. We have KuCoin, MEXC, BingX, BitGet, and Gate.io. Okay, we don't have it listed on any of the large, more commonly known, accessible to more people exchanges, but it's still gradually ticking up to the 28th largest cryptocurrency by market cap. And if we compare this to the search volume of cryptos that have sort of pumped their way up in the markets, we can see SHIB had a ton of search volume. Even AVAX at its all-time high had a ton of search volume. So the fact that it's basically silently moved into the 28th largest cryptocurrency by market cap with barely any search volume leads me to believe that there is value in that only being held by people who truly understand it. And there is such a big opportunity there, but barely any retail has access or even knows about it yet. If we look at the total amount of units that are in the circulating supply, we're at about 6.3 million right now. We have about 5.2 million of those tokens staked into the protocol, meaning that these aren't people who are buying and holding it as an investment on centralized exchanges. These are people using it for the function, and it's already the 28th largest cryptocurrency by market cap that's already moved up by 10x. You can see a ton of the supply, 250,000 here, 200,000 here, 185,000 here. A lot of these tokens are held by a few select accounts. Okay, just recently, Coinbase talked about Tau in their publishing crypto AI report, which, if I know anything about Coinbase, is probably meaning that a lot of these centralized exchanges have their eyes on it. And once that happens, that's going to open the floodgates for way more demand in the token. So if and when we see this listed on bigger exchanges, we see the search volume increase. And because of this, there's no reason why I don't see this being a potential for a top 15 token over the next bull run. And if we think that the total market cap of crypto could move up into the $6 to $8 trillion zone, that will mean being a top 15 crypto will put you in a position to be in the $30 to $50 billion range. So it's really not hard, in my opinion, to see this achieved, which would from here even give us a 13x in price. All right, so even from here, people can be making life-changing money if Tau is to reach a top 15 token, in my opinion. But if I am right and we're able to time some sort of bottom, of course, it's a risk not getting any exposure, but that's going to significantly increase the amount of upside potential that you have on these projects. So a 13x turns into a 22x just by timing this entry, which once again, we hope the market sells off so that we can then aim to acquire more of this while still no one is paying attention, but you see all of the utility and growth potential in Tau. And luckily, from where we called this at $70, for those of you that were able to enter, if we do see those prices, you're going to be up well over 100x. So $100 would turn into $10,000, $1,000 would turn into $100,000 or $150,000, etc. Okay, I could be completely wrong, not financial advice, do your own research. This is one of those projects that barely anyone is still talking about, and now you know why I like it. Okay, the next project that I'm absolutely obsessed about, that I'm extremely excited for, is a decentralized cloud computation network for machine learning that is powered by Solana, by Render, by Filecoin. So you have all of these massive projects in the space all teaming together to launch a new project in the heat of a bull market, and they're doing something that has never really been done before, because they're the first in the space to be using cloud clusters, which can save up to 90% of the cost for companies who need to use cloud computing. Okay, additionally, they're expecting the inflow of over 200 companies to immediately start utilizing their platform. So all this cloud computation that is being hoarded by these big tech companies, the power is now being turned into our hands so that different users are able to put their GPU to use, be able to use the platform, but also this being a project that is backed by the front runners in this network that hasn't launched yet into a bull market. In my opinion, I think this has the opportunity to be a Goliath of a project. From their documentation, we're looking for a launch in Q2 of 2024. All right, and you can see they just finished a Series A round, raising $30 million, which is going to bring their starting valuation up to $1 billion. Okay, and obviously this is a really good sign of investor confidence. They were at Solana breakpoint. Okay, this is going to be a big project, in my opinion, one that we're going to be looking for. On my Discord, which is in the description of the video, I put together a consolidated version of my entire bull market plan, and you can see in here I do have all of the tokens that I'm watching. All right, and as these tokens launch, there's news updates or other opportunities. I'm going to be sharing those with you guys in my analysis channels here. But with IronNet, we're looking at potentially a $1 to $1.5 billion valuation when we do launch. And once again, even putting us into a top 30 or top 20 position, it wouldn't realistically be that hard to see a $20 to $30 billion market cap on a project like this pretty easily into a 20 or 30x gain. Once again, late FOMO buying into Bitcoin when we're at the top of a parabola, or holding off and investing into projects that hardly anyone except for crypto-centric people are paying attention to. That is where the true opportunity is going to be. All right, and the third project that I see massive growth potential in is a layer 1 blockchain that's working to improve the scalability of Ethereum, which right now is extremely applicable considering the ETF and considering the update that is happening. Okay, and because this is a layer 1, this could be similar to getting into something like AVAX on the ground floor, okay, starting off at a several billion-dollar market cap and moving all the way up into the 20s and 30s, potentially on steroids, considering we could see a 3 to 4x in the total market cap of crypto in general. And so Monad will be able to handle 10,000 transactions per second, which is similar to what we saw with Solana as far as actual usability and ease of use. It's also going to allow for Ethereum apps to easily be converted over onto the Monad blockchain without any sort of crazy significant modifications. Okay, this is going to allow for high performance mainstream use of ETH applications. Like I said, the ETH ETF coming soon could cause a bum rush, which would residually increase the speculation and use case behind Monad in real world application, with it being a layer 1 project. So once again, putting that up into the potential 50 to even potentially $100 billion market cap, which could quite easily get us anywhere from 30 to 40x, depending on where they actually launch. All right, and considering this is happening later in the bull market, if we're able to make trades up to that point and acquire capital, say you're able to invest $1,000 and 10x that, turn that into $10,000, and then you roll part of those investments into potential 30x investments. This is how it's quite literally possible to start with $1,000 and turn this into hundreds of thousands of dollars, as long as you have that clear vision. I'm not saying that these plans are going to work, but diversifying into this narrative with newer projects is definitely going to open the doors to these types of potential. But this all being said, my strategy is quite simple. I'm still holding about 60% of my entire portfolio into Bitcoin, and I'm really not going to be selling Bitcoin until we see a crazy, ridiculous parabola into the market, and we see one on-chain metric that I'm going to share with you right after this is going to signal to potentially start taking off profits, because I believe in Bitcoin long term. So until we see something crazy where it's quite obvious we will almost 100% certain get a better option to buy, I won't be closing out those positions. However, I do own a lot of Solana and I own a lot of Tau. Right now I'm up about 3.2 risk factors, and I do have a hopeful target at this 161.8 level here, where if we do get a push up into the next couple weeks, I'll be closing out my position, in which case I lock in around $135,000 in profit, or I can get a dip into Tau. I could further distribute those funds into things that are a little bit more risk on and still put some money aside to have a realized profit in the market. Okay, because I do think that we will see a push up and then a better price eventually to be able to buy into these things. The same thing with Tau. I'll be playing Elliott Wave off of this this. So it looks like we should be able to get a push up into 5 to just under $1,000. And then we should hopefully be able to get a 50 retracement if we start from the beginning of our trend up to where we could expect the top of this trend to sort of fizzle out before a correction. Okay, if we are able to get at 50 level, that would put us at around $500 per token. And wherever we do end up seeing our top, if we do see one, this 50 level is going to be a good dip buy level wherever it is, hopefully to be able to get Tau under $500 before we see potential exchange listings and mass hype. And other than that, I'm just going to be using the money I kept on the side to add to my current positions if the market dips and be able to invest thoroughly into IronNet and any other projects that come up during the bull run that have high potential. Okay, but considering we're thinking about all these smaller projects, I'm going to share with you how I'm going to be looking for the top of the market. So there's a few things that I'm going to be looking at, but one of the newer metrics that I am going to be looking at after doing on-chain research is something called the long-term holder market value realized value ratio. Okay, so what this is showing us is the ratio between the current market value of the crypto and the realized value if these positions were to be sold. So we can see a few things on our graphs. So in the black line here, we have a logarithmic chart of Bitcoin. Okay, in the blue line, we have our long-term holders market value realized value ratio. So these long-term holders constitute as coins that have been purchased over 155 days ago, which is an indication that these are forward-thinking investors, not just people that are new into the market, hot, and are acting irrationally. These are more longer-term investors in Bitcoin that think more logically, that have better positions. So we want to watch what those wallets are doing. So there's a few things that we've noticed historically. First thing that I'm noticing is that we have these highs continually making lower highs. So we have lower high here, lower high here, lower high here. Okay, as the market continues to move up and more money pours into the market. And I expect a similar trend like this to happen. Okay, the second thing that we can notice is this green line here and this red line here. Anytime this value has dropped underneath this green line, this is almost always perfectly timed the lowest parts of the market. Okay, so you can see down here, once again, I wish I was looking at this metric because it would have helped us be able to a little bit better time that bottom there. Okay, but under this green here, bottom of the market. And then anything over this red line, realistically over a value of 10, has been an area where it starts to make sense to start thinking about taking profit. Okay, so obviously up here we moved significantly higher. Over here we had a value of about 27. Here we had a value of 22, and then here we had a value of 10. Okay, so considering we're expecting to see slightly lower highs, as soon as we start to see these 10 levels being hit, I'm going to be seeing how this correlates with our projections in Bitcoin up to that 175 potential zone in the residual market cap in Bitcoin. If we see all of these conditions, we see this on-chain metric chugging through 10 going into 15, this is where I'm going to start taking off all of my altcoin positions, closing things out to cash, potentially closing out some small amounts of my Bitcoin and just sitting in cash, even if I don't time the perfect top of the market, until we do inevitably see a massive capitulation after the overhype, after the AI bubble potentially pops, so that we can be the smart ones in this cycle that don't sit in all these plays and then just hold through 80% losses. Considering we're day trading in our Discord, we don't actually care which direction the market moves. Okay, we actually make money when the market moves down or when the market moves up. Okay, so either shorting or longing, we're able to make consistent profits in the market. Okay, so looking at these metrics, investing in things that you believe in, just ignoring the day-to-day FOMO news, and having a solid exit strategy will allow you to have clarity and benefit from this next bull run. Okay, if you want to follow along with what I'm doing and updates on the things that we're finding, use the resources in the description, join the Discord. I'm going to be updating you guys on all the analysis. Okay, if you enjoyed this video, comment below which project was your favorite. Hit the like button on the video to get it to more people. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on the bell notifications so that you can be notified when I drop videos. But until next time, I will see you all in the next video.